Will Osula has signed for Newcastle United. It was confirmed this morning Newcastle United's new striker is through the door. We've also got news of Bruno Guimaraes' press conference with Eddie Howe before the Salah weekender, and we'll talk about Kieran Trippier's links with West Ham and the big thing that Paul Mitchell simply has to do to improve Newcastle United's academy. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the NUFC Thursday Show. Thanks so much to everybody who joined in to yesterday's live stream. Over 50 people concurrently at one stage, which was really good. About 700 people have viewed the live stream altogether as well. Please continue to like, share and subscribe to the videos. Really enjoying interacting with you guys. That'll be a common theme of the season ahead. I'm going to put together a bit of a content plan in the next couple of days to look at what's going to happen across the season, with a bit more of an update on the channel as well. So please do continue to like, share and subscribe and also get involved. I really enjoy the live streams. Obviously the big news is that Will Osula has finally completed his move from Sheffield United. £10 million plus £5 million in add-ons. I've said so many times what I think about this signing in previous videos, previous live streams. If you haven't already, check out what I said on those videos. I won't go into great detail as to what he'll bring, but it really refreshes the squad. And I said yesterday on the live stream that what it does is it gives Newcastle an opportunity to manage Callum Wilson a bit better than last season, manage Alexander Isak a bit better than last season. Yes, there are fewer games as well, which should also help. But really, I think the main thing from last season was the fact that one was coming back, the other one would get injured, and then they would have to come back quicker, and they weren't able to get themselves back to full fitness. And I know Alexander Isak said that himself around his calf issue. Hopefully, the fact that Osula is coming in as a player who can learn from those two players offers Eddie Howe the opportunity to ease the fitness concerns when they've got them. Obviously, Newcastle without Callum Wilson for the start of the season because of back surgery. Will Osula should be very heavily involved as a result of that in squads at the start of the season. Could he be involved in one of the Salah Cup games? Hopefully, we'll see him. I'll be there for both days, hopefully, across the weekend to see how Newcastle get on against Brest and Girona. We'll see also potentially, hopefully, an update on Mark Gahey. Eddie Howe spoke to the media. Obviously, I wasn't there this morning, but he spoke to the press about Mark Gahey. Didn't give too much away as you wouldn't expect, but he did say Newcastle are light in centre-back. Also spoke about Kieran Trippier, which we'll get into a little bit later. But Will Osula signed the fifth first-team summer signing of the season. I think Newcastle are still waiting for that game changer, and it could be around the corner with Mark Gahey, as we spoke about on the live stream yesterday. Again, I don't want to cover too much old ground on this video. I did answer a lot of questions on Mark Gahey. I think it's a really good signing. I think Will Osula is another really good signing as well. So do check out previous videos for more details into what he'll bring. But he said himself that he likes to run in behind and he likes to stretch defences. And I think that's a key reason why Newcastle have gone and snatched him. Not because particularly he's ready for the Premier League, not because he is going to take it by storm. Obviously 21 games and no goals last season in the league. Scored a couple in the FA Cup though and was quite impressive. But really what he brings is that sort of ability and the potential to play in a similar way to the way that Alexander Isak does. And I think that's crucial to what Eddie Howe's planning going forward. So Will Osula's through the door and that's a really good signing. The second thing I want to talk about is Bruno Guimaraes, who was sat next to Eddie Howe in the press conference this morning, and he once again reiterated his desire to stay at St James's Park. Lots of talk about potential Manchester City deals. I said on the video last week, I was slightly pod-bombed again because I said that they said Manchester City are interested. They don't have the money to sign a player without selling somebody first. Well, Julian Alvarez is about to sign for Atletico Madrid for about €95 million. So the money is there for Man City to go and reinforce their squad. They've wanted Dani Olmo. He's looks set to join Barcelona. Bruno Guimaraes is a player that they've been keen on, but I think I was told earlier in the summer that they were waiting for him to make a move to upset the apple cart and create that opportunism for City to make their move. Newcastle have not had that from Guimaraes. Instead, they've had quite the opposite. He wants to be a part of this future. He said again, as he said, his favourite thing is to say he wants to be part of Newcastle's history. He wants to win something. But the biggest news that came out of the presser for me was the fact that, you know, we've spoken about the leadership group and that vote that was coming. It's already been Bruno is part of the leadership group alongside Kieran Trippier, Callum Wilson, Dan Burn and Jamal Lascelles, replacing the vacated spot that was Matt Ritchie's, who obviously he's now joined Portsmouth. But I think crucially, that might mean that Bruno is seen as the on-pitch captain next season, because we'll get into Trippier in a second, but not many of those other players are going to be in regular first-team football. There isn't a player on Bruno's level of guaranteed starter in that leadership group anymore. Obviously, even if Trippier stays, there's an argument to say that Tino Livermento's ahead of him in the pecking order anyway. So we could see a lot of Bruno Guimaraes being captain next season on the pitch, while Jamal Lascelles is out injured, recovering from his cruciate ligament injury. Callum Wilson, as I say, is not going to play too many games. He's out injured at the moment. Dan Burn, not guaranteed starter, especially if Mark Gahey comes in. Lloyd Kelly's probably usurped him in the squad, and Trippier, obviously, even if he stays, which is actually quite doubtful at the moment, Livermento's ahead of him. So Bruno could be captain quite a lot next season, and I think that's really good. The way he speaks about Newcastle, I said in the last episode, is really, really impressive. It's very rare that a player of that quality, who doesn't play for one of the elite teams and isn't playing in Europe this season, would be so committed to a club like Newcastle. And I think that tells you everything about you need to know about Bruno as a person, everything you need to know about what Newcastle are doing and how central he is. I think Newcastle should be very, very aware of how lucky they are to have him. I'm writing an article for BBC Sport about the summer, about how difficult and uncertain it has been, but how the positivity is coming through, and hopefully that'll be reflected with a few more positive quotes over the weekend from the Cellar Cup, which I'll bring you in a video this weekend. Bruno's part of the leadership group. Looks like he could be the on-pitch captain next season. And the other thing to mention as well, there isn't any real transfer updates. We know where Mark Gahey is. The bid is still going in. We know that Osula's coming. So there isn't any real transfer rumours to discuss today. We know that Newcastle, if you want more information about what I think will happen with the right winger, that was the discussion point of the live stream yesterday. Newcastle have less money to spend on that position now, because they're looking like they're going really big on a centre-back, so they have to recalibrate, perhaps potentially sell a couple of players. One of those players could be Kieran Trippier. We know there's interest from Saudi Arabia, but this week West Ham have made an inquiry. They've been interested in signing Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United. That seems to have hit a snag. Could this deal be something that happens? I think it would be very interesting. I think there's lots of rumours about what is going through Kieran Trippier's head this summer, why he's potentially open to a move. I think there's been a lot of a feeling that because he's got one big contract left in him, probably, that he might take it elsewhere with a big signing on fee, and there's money elsewhere to be got. That's probably most true in Saudi Arabia, but if there's an opportunity to play more regularly in the Premier League, perhaps he'll take that. West Ham are, as I say, after a new right back. They've hit a snag with their deal for Wan-Bissaka, who apparently wants a big payoff from Manchester United to leave there. So would Trippier be interested in a move back to London? I'm sure he probably would if the deal was right. Really interesting quotes from Eddie Howe, who said that Trippier isn't pushing his way out of the club. He's happy to stay, but he said there will be outgoings, and that is a very, again, these quotes from Eddie Howe, it's more about the way he says things, or the nuance in what he says or what he doesn't say. Often it's not about taking what he says at face value. I think the fact that they said that Trippier isn't pushing his way out, but he didn't say that Newcastle weren't interested in selling him. He also admitted that there will be outgoings, and Trippier is still one of the most sellable assets in the squad, who Newcastle could afford to lose. So I think this one might have movement if West Ham do indeed turn their full attention to Trippier after Aaron Wan-Bissaka, if they can't resurrect that deal. And finally, the one thing I really want to mention is that Newcastle United have a pathway to improving their academy. We know that Mark Gahey is likely to join. That'll make 3 of the back 4 at Newcastle Chelsea graduates: Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento and Mark Gahey. And a big thing that's happened this summer is that Neil Bath, Chelsea's academy director, left the club after 30 years. He did say he wanted a break from football. It would be difficult to bring him into St James's Park. But if Newcastle have any real drive to improve their academy, as what is under the remit of Paul Mitchell as sporting director, if he really wants to make an instant impact on that, he needs to try and get Neil Bath to come through the door. I've spoken to a lot of people around Chelsea, a lot of people around the players who've come through, the likes of Reece James, Mason Mount, Tino Livramento, Declan Rice, players who've all come through that club. And everybody's really said that the one constant thing is how important Neil Bath is to that club. He became the fabric of that Chelsea youth system that won multiple FA Youth Cups, multiple UEFA Youth Leagues as well. Really, really talented coach, really important person for the fabric of Chelsea, as I said, and lots of key players have name-checked him as a vital person in their development. I think if Newcastle want an instant overhaul of their academy, as is needed, there's more evidence of players coming through, the likes of Louis Smiley, Trevor Sanusi as well, and obviously Alfie Harrison. Other players are coming in. Midrab Pivas has come in as well. Lots of different players are coming through, but there needs to be a big overhaul of what's happened in that academy. It's been an afterthought at St James's Park, and if Newcastle want an instant impact and an instant way of showing that there's a way forward, they could really do worse than trying to prize Neil Bath out of a break from football, which admittedly might be difficult, but Newcastle need to go and do this, in my opinion, if they want an instant impact, because there's nobody better on the market in terms of academy football than Neil Bath. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of the Thursday Show. I'll be back at the weekend with a Cellar Cup vlog, hopefully of both days, certainly of one of them at least. Please like, share and subscribe. I'll be back as well next week with another live show and a channel update, crucially ahead of the new season. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.